Yo, what is going on? Welcome back to another edition of the Players Ball Podcast. I am your host, Roddy. You can follow me on YouTube at the Players Ball Podcast. Well, the podcast on YouTube, should I say. And then you can follow the podcast on Twitter at the Players Ball One, as well as on Instagram at the Players Ball Podcast. Then go ahead and give me a follow at Roddy404 on Twitter and at Roddy404 on Instagram. Now, week 6 of the NFL. I mean, it's a lot of surprises. I can say that for sure. A couple things we expected, but we felt like since we're going head to head this upcoming week, we got to bring my guy back on his brand new, spanking new iMac computer. My boy Cany, what's going on, man?
Yeah, what's good, man? It's on this week, man.
Boy, look, Monday night, man, I'm telling you, it's going to be war, but we're going to talk about it later. It's a lot of
Yeah,
things
it's all
that's
good.
been irregular, within that matchup, I can say the least. But where I did want to start with you was in the NFC, which is, I mean, the two top teams right now. There's really no denying it. You can feel like maybe there have been some units, like specifically, that have been better than some of the units on these teams. But as a whole, the Cardinals and Cowboys have been the teams to be in the NFC. So, in your opinion, who would you put at that number one spot?
I'd personally put the Cardinals, and
Mm.
it's because the Cardinals have a little bit more depth on both sides of the ball. The Cowboys have Trayvon Diggs playing out of his mind on defense, and Michael Parsons is playing well, but he's not at the same level as who the Cardinals have on defense. They have Byron Murphy playing out of his mind. They got Buda Baker. They didn't even have Chandler Jones against the Browns, and they still whooped them.
Yeah.
So, and you still got J.J. Watt and Zaven Collins and the second-year man Isaiah Simmons at linebacker positions. They have a lot of speed on the field. So the Cardinals have been kind of shocking teams with how much team speed they have on defense. So I put the Cardinals above them, above Dallas, just because of the defensive side of the ball, kind of evening out the fact that Dallas has, of course, the better offense. But since Arizona's not far behind them on offense, but they have a better defense, you got to give them the nod.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, my thing with the Cowboys, and on Twitter, I talked to a ton of Cowboys
Oh
fans in
yeah,
spaces. Be sure to go follow us on Twitter. Y'all can get in the spaces. Y'all can speak, slander teams, whatever you want to do. We have a lot of fun in there. But I talked to a lot of Cowboys, and the only thing that I have a concern for is the sustainability. I mean, you got a guy who's top 5 in terms of picks just for himself. He'd be ahead of 3 other whole teams in terms of turnovers, with Trevon Diggs. So I just don't know if it's sustainable throughout a whole season, man. Like, are they going to be able to still turn the ball over late in the season? There's, of course, room for more open injuries. And I mean, with Dak, man, the calf strain is no joke. Like, a lot of these NFL players reiterate that while a calf strain sounds like, in football, like it's not really that big of a deal, it is. It affects your movement. It affects, the way you throw if you're a quarterback. So thank God Dallas has a bye, because I really think they
right.
needed it, in order to sustain, like I was saying, what they have going on right now. But can it still happen later on in the season? That's where I leave a little room, for a little speculation. But
Right.
I would say maybe who's playing the best out of all of the players on any of the teams is Kyler Murray, correct?
Correct. He's been
Mm-hmm.
too hot. Like
Bro.
it doesn't matter. Like you can tell that Kyler Murray doesn't just have to go over the top on you. He can take the check down. He can beat you in the middle of the field, and he can buy some time in the pocket. And he's very comfortable because if we've noticed, even though I definitely doubted the Cardinals had him as the weak team in the division before the season, their offensive
Mhm.
line's a lot better. So Kyler is a lot more comfortable sitting in the pocket and surveying the field. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's hot.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, that's one hell of a division. it's going to be a dogfight between the Cards and the Rams. Um, I honestly don't really know who's going to come out on top. They got to play again, obviously. But the Cardinals looked impressive in that first meeting. So maybe, maybe they can do it. I don't have questions of sustainability really with them. I mean, of course, I have the same question that I have with every NFL team. Can you stay healthy? But I think they can. So, we'll see. But to move on to our second question, I really wanted to ask you about, I mean, the Ravens. Just Lamar Jackson. Speak about
Man,
him.
man, man. Every time you turn the TV screen on and you watch Lamar Jackson, he's going to jump off the screen every game you watch him. And the thing about this season so far in the first 6 games that's so special about him is Lamar wasn't a bad pocket passer in previous years, but they didn't really open up the passing game for Lamar Jackson. So this year, the thing that we're seeing is Lamar's allowed to sit in the pocket and kind of connect on different parts of the field more often. And I'm like, Greg Roman can actually do this with somebody. And
Hey
it just
man.
tells you, yeah, this tells you how special he is. And Rashad Bateman hasn't touched the field yet. So, whew, it can
Man.
only get better, man.
And I mean Ronnie Stanley as well. Like, even though that's a big hit, they dealt with it last year too. So I have confidence in them being able to go forward. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I feel the same. Even though they don't have Orlando Brown on the roster anymore since he's on the Chiefs, and he was the fill-in for Rodney Stanley last year, I believe that for Lamar Jackson, because he's a mobile quarterback and he does have a comfort level sitting in the pocket, he's going to make whoever fills in for Rodney Stanley feel more comfortable, and the Ravens can run the ball. So I just think the way the Ravens play, the injuries may kind of add up towards the end since the AFC is admittedly the tougher conference right now
Yeah,
because
definitely.
you got a lot of heavyweights in there. Tennessee's heating up, so um, like it'll be hard in the postseason to overcome all these injuries for the Ravens, but I do think that they can still win their division because really Cincinnati's all they have to think about right now since Cleveland's beat up and Pittsburgh's old. So yeah,
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's really theirs to lose with everything they've went through, which is a crazy thing to say. I don't know if it says more about the Ravens or it says more about the rest of their division, which has been a little rough. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, the whole division has been a little rough just due to injuries. Um, it's now that I think about it, it's like one of the more injured divisions in football, just in terms of like key guys being injured. But I mean,
right,
ultimately, I feel like again, it's theirs to lose. He's gonna have a lot of moments in a lot of games where, you know, he's going to have to overcome a lot. He knows that. Um,
right,
but he hasn't faltered yet. So I'm not gonna say he can't do it because he showed me he can. So
right.
yeah, man, Lamar is just he's unreal, bro. And he should deserve the MVP if he continues to play like this, if he wins the division and gets his team to the playoffs and wins one round. Like I couldn't see a universe where anyone else would deserve the MVP. So yeah, it's just special what we're seeing from Lamar. But to transition to something a little awkward, um, the well, I was about to say Oakland, the Las Vegas Raiders, they they bounce back to say the least. Of
Right.
course, you see the final score, it's a 10-point game, but they controlled that game for the entire game.
Yeah,
Um,
it
you
was never
know,
that close.
yeah, like I mean, they scored the Broncos scored at the end to make it close, but really, are you still impressed with this Raiders team? I know they had a fart, with the Bears game, but do you think the Raiders can be a legit contender?
I do because of their defense. I have concerns about the offensive line, but the way that Carr is playing, and at some point we're gonna see Josh Jacobs get healthier. So I think that the Raiders are a team that's a lot more physical than I expected. And every time I've watched the Raiders games, I'm like, man, their defense is much better. And so I commend Gus Bradley. And if you've seen Max Crosby, he might remind you of what Jared Allen was for the Vikings about 10 years ago, because their games are kind of similar. But Crosby's got a really good first step, and he's impressed me every time. And then you have Casey Hayward at corner impressing. You have the rookie free safety that right now he's been excellent. Trey Mulrig from I think he went to TCU, I believe,
Yeah.
if I'm thinking correctly. But they have a lot of things going for him. And Henry Ruggs gets better every week. Hunter Renfro every week gets better. Brian Edwards actually is a factor. Darren Waller,
So,
of course, Darren Waller,
yeah.
and Carr's playing better. And if you ask me, they played a lot looser with Gruden out of the building than they have under Gruden in general. And
Yeah.
hey, like so, a
And
lot of people that work with Gruden don't like working with Gruden. Let's be real. So
yeah, that
yeah,
has gone back to the Tampa Bay days, the original Oakland days. I mean, a lot of these guys don't like them, but I mean, just to be honest, like the Raiders, I don't know where this came from, but defensively, they're very solid. Henry Ruggs is a good player. They finally started utilizing Kenyon Drake, which I think was the most important thing.
right,
He had some of the most touches in the red zone. I think the most touches in the red zone last year. And, they weren't really using him, towards the beginning of the
right,
season. And he gets back in the game, and what happens? He scores twice. So it's
right,
like, it's difficult for me to understand where Gruden was going, maybe what direction he was feeling to take the team in going on from that point. But they might be glad he's gone. It might work out a little bit better for him because we could see in some areas he was holding the team back by his decision making. So um,
right.
I, I mean, I think the Raiders can do it. I really think the Chargers are going to have a couple of more bad losses to some formidable teams. I don't think it'll be like anything crazy, but I think if the Raiders can, get one of those Chiefs games, definitely get one of those Chargers games or both. I think they can really do it. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Well, they got the Raiders got the first Chargers game, right? They've already played, right?
Yeah, they played though. The Chargers did win 28-14.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but the Raiders fought back because remember they were down 21-0 in the first half of that Monday Night Football game. Then the third quarter, the Raiders took over that game. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like if the Raiders can kind of play better on the offensive line against the Chargers the next time they see them, it could be a different game. But we haven't seen them against the Chiefs yet. But I think the Raiders, who weren't this physical last year and beat them still last year, can still give the Chiefs some problems this year, especially when the Chiefs they're still not as good as they were last year. Like there's a significant drop off. Like it's still off. Like they played Washington, so you can't give them that much credit because everybody eats when they play Washington.
Yep.
So except for the Giants, but hey,
Well,
that man, yeah,
we'll go a little off script here because I did want to talk a little bit about the Chiefs. I feel like teams are now realizing that Mahomes doesn't want to take the layup, if we're going in basketball terms. Like
yes,
there's underneath routes, there's check downs, there's a whole bunch of other plays that he could be making that he just chooses not to. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, because he wants to have a 50-yard play every single play. And it's like, bro,
literally,
it's not realistic. Like, you can't just expect to go down the field as you so please. So I think, and I said this before the season started, that I think they're going to take a step back because I think the margin of error is even smaller, the smallest it's ever been. And, the man's been getting away with highway robbery forever now. So,
sure.
to be honest with you, man, I really think the Chiefs, they're going to be fighting for a wild card spot. I think they ultimately get it, but it's going to be a really tough fight. How do you feel?
I agree because look at the way the Raiders are playing and look at the way the Chargers are playing. And the Chargers beat them in Kansas City. The next
Yep.
time they see the Chargers, it's going to be in Los Angeles and it'll be in prime time. And I don't think that much is going to change when they see the Chargers again. But the Raiders are not going to be easy. The Broncos may be the weakest team in the division, but Kansas City still is right there with them, same record wise. But Broncos are a little more physical. And like the Mahomes the Mahomes issue kind of concerns me because I saw it before the season started. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's not very comfortable sitting in the pocket. Some people blame the protection, but this is just generally a Mahomes problem because he could get away with getting out of the pocket and making plays. He's a little too comfortable and sometimes leaves clean pockets, and then that's where he misses the checkdowns. Like there was this one play I think they put on the NFL page today where Mahomes spins out and runs out of the pocket and hits a streaking Tyreek Hill across the field. But if Mahomes literally sits in the pocket because it's a clean pocket still and steps up, that throw is going to be much easier on him.
Yeah.
So those are just the little things that
And
concern me.
yeah, and like I was saying, like it's like he's trying to make it hard on purpose, and it's like, bro, you don't have to do that. You can literally just stay in the pocket, survey, and go in. But my guy Sosa the Locksmith on Twitter, go follow him for sure. He's a great NBA, NFL,
Oh
all
yeah,
types of sport gambler. But he's saying that his criticism of Mahomes is they roll him out so much because he really can't read defenses. And once you
it's
roll
true.
him out, it cuts off half the field. So you can
Yep,
see, clearly what the reads are. There's basically three levels that you can see. And I mean, it's gonna hurt them in the long run when they play teams who can play man decently and play the too high shell, very well.
right.
It's gonna hurt them. So look, I said they were gonna take a step back. I just think they need to draft all defensive players next year. Thank God they got Sorensen out of the lineup for this week, but I
Yeah.
mean, man, like they're just
Oh man.
still it's spooky on defense and a little bit of offense as well. But
Yeah.
that's how it
Some-
is.
I agree with you there, man.
Now, the Browns, man, like they play on Thursday, just so y'all know, against the Broncos at home. Baker left the game in a sling. He's already been having shoulder issues, and JJ Watt threw him like a McDonald's hotcakes and sausage straight onto the damn ground on Sunday.
Literally.
Um, okay, let me ask you like this: is this Browns team ever going to get over the hump with number 6?
My answer is no, because every time that the Browns have played games, like yeah, they can talk about his shoulder injury, but that's on his non-throwing arm. But every time the Browns have gotten into the same situation where they require Baker to win the game for him, Baker comes up short every time. He was healthy in week 1 against the Chiefs. Baker just had to throw the ball away. There was a good minute left in the game still against the Chiefs. Baker instead doesn't put enough air on it because he didn't have to step up. He just had to throw the ball literally either throw the ball away, throw it at somebody's feet, just anything but throwing the ball up for grabs. And the game ended. And then against the Chargers, they had 131 left on the clock, and Baker couldn't even get past midfield. So, like, and come on, his guy from Oklahoma outplays him on his field. So,
His
I mean, you could
backup.
like his backup. Think about that. So it's like you can't like it's one thing for guys drafted like in his class to outdo him, but Kyler was the year after him. You don't want Kyler to pass him. You don't want Joe Burrow in his same division to look like the better quarterback. And I think Joe Burrow is a little bit better because Joe Burrow plays with swagger and confidence, and he has game breaker in him. Baker could have that, but he doesn't really like Baker's not consistently accurate enough.
Yeah. And it's frustrating when I see number 13 open all the time, Odell
Oh
Beckham, and
man.
it's just like it's either, like Big Ben on Sunday night. It's just misses, man. It's just
Oh man.
misses, overthrows, just bad possessions. And he's the same way too. I wouldn't go as far to say he can't read defenses, but they do try to roll him out to cut off the field as often as possible, which is an issue to me.
Right. Like for Baker, I'll say this: he does read defenses well, but his timing is only good when Jarvis Landry's on the field, and that's a problem for me because that's the only guy he has an understanding of where to put the ball at. And Peoples Jones, honestly, is a secret star on the roster. Like they are trying so hard to make Odell work when clearly, other than off the field, Odell and Baker don't really work on the field. When if you trade him, you can get some either draft capital or get something that can help your team now, like whatever it may be. The Browns have one of the three best rosters in the league when healthy. So I don't know what they'll necessarily go get, but hey, like I would have thought about letting Odell Beckham go because they don't really need him because the Browns have Austin Hooper, Jarvis Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Who else? They have Higgins, I believe. Like they have enough
Mhm.
talent to make up for it. And Baker played well without him last year, so it's like, yeah, you can't make it up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to buy into the Coke dreamer. He's coming to the Saints. I think the Browns are going to want something that's actually going to help their team, and I'm not sure we have it right now. But I would like to see him on another squad. Rather it be, wherever. I just want to see him be able to thrive and give us the years that he gave us earlier on in his career, which were spectacular. And he's hella deserving of it. Like he was
Right.
essentially sitting there to die. Like if we're being honest,
Yeah.
in terms of football, the owner of the Giants sent him to a team who's had an 0-16 season, been just historically bad. So all signs point to be that he was there to die or to have his career cut short in a way. So
Right.
I'm glad he's still recognized as one of the top talents. I really do hope that again he gets somewhere else, but I mean, I just can't see this Browns team doing much without Six being consistent and competent. And if he's going to
Yeah.
just be okay and mediocre, then I don't think it's going to be beneficial for anybody in the organization. So, yeah, I don't know. I definitely think they're going to be in a dogfight for that wild card spot as well. But ultimately, I wouldn't put no money on it, and I'm a betting man. For them to make the playoffs, I wouldn't do that at all. But that's just
Yeah.
me.
Right. And
Now, yeah, I just wouldn't do that. That's not me.
me
Now
neither.
it's time to talk about the team that's behind you and my squad. Monday night, Geno Smith, Jameis Winston. If I would have told you even though actually 2 years ago that these two guys were going to be starting on Monday night for these two teams, you'd have been like, what the hell? Like, who got hurt?
Right.
And in this situation, Russ did, of course, get hurt. He's going to be out a couple of weeks. Um, what are you feeling in terms of nervousness? Because obviously he's not out for the season, but he's gonna, have to recover. When he comes back, he's probably still gonna have it bothering him a little bit. So, do you feel like this is something they can overcome, or you think there's a hole that they can't dig themselves out of?
Well, the problem I have is just that one, the state of the roster. I don't think this team can win games without Russell Wilson playing. Like against you guys, that was a loss the moment that Russell's injury was going to have him out for a certain amount of weeks. So I'm expecting the Saints to kind of decisively beat us in the way that Pittsburgh refused to this past week.
For real.
Because I'm just saying, you guys are coming off a bye, and this is Sean Payton. I don't think you remember. Well, you might have, but Kamara literally went wild on us in 2019.
Yep.
And yeah, I, like our defense is worse than the 2019 Seahawks defense. So it's this is not going to be good. And Jameis got an arm on him. So
Yeah.
and off a bye. Like thankful at least. Well, I don't know if Michael Thomas is back yet. Maybe it'll be another few weeks or so, but I hope he's not back because that'll be even worse for us. But
Hey,
hey,
look.
you're right.
Look, I'm sorry, I got choked up, but I'm telling you, man, it's funny how just not having one of your best players really can affect your squad. We've seen it all season in the passing game. If you watch the Saints, they've been a little stagnant at times because teams are just finding out like if we can get a little pressure with four and hold up in man defense, we can have a great chance to keep this offense to a minimum scoring output. So I definitely feel like, unfortunately for you, it's going to be a wash. I mean, it's
I
just going
see
to
it the
be,
same way.
yeah, like it's just going to be difficult, bro, because when you don't have your franchise guy, and your franchise guy really was the big part of why you were as good as you were, then it's just gonna be hard, man. It's just gonna be difficult. So I still think honestly that if y'all get Russell back and you get a hot streak when he comes back, I think you guys could maybe sneak in. But with the Cardinals and Rams just being how they are, it's gonna make it really hard for any team, who's on the fringe of a wild card to get in, because I anticipate the Rams winning 11, 12 games this year. I definitely anticipate the Cardinals. I mean, shoot, they already got
Yeah.
six. So,
Right.
it's going to be a good year for them too. So ultimately, I just feel like the Seahawks, they have a chance still, but it's looking bleak. It is looking bleak. I ain't gonna
Yeah, I agree. Because think about it, we're 2-4 right now. After Monday night, we're going to be 2-5,
lie.
and then we play another team coming off a bye. Jacksonville is bad, but Trevor wants Geno Smith. Come on, like there's levels, and
Yeah.
I'm just saying the current state of the Seahawks team, they have a lot of holes on the roster that Russell was covering up. And
Mm-hmm.
when he's not on the field, now you get to see how bad the defense is. Now you get to see that DK Metcalf literally is only good when Russell's at quarterback because he's not that good of a route runner. And Marshawn Lattimore is probably going to have a fun Monday night because he's going to realize this guy can't do anything without Russell, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Lockett's the guy that people double for a reason. So it's
Yeah.
like by the time Russell comes back week 10, 11, we could be 2-7, 2-6, or 3-6. Not better than that, but it's going to be tough because, I mean, the only reason we have a chance to get in the wild card is because there's a 7 seed. And if you look across the NFC at who the second best teams are in each division other than ours, and of course in your division, it's you guys. So in
Mm-hmm.
every other division, we could be better than the second best team. Except now we lost to the Vikings a few weeks ago, and that head to head could come back to haunt us. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where it could be tough.
Yeah, man. Minnesota would be my team to choose to really mess it up. And especially since y'all, like you said, lost the head to head, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be really,
Yeah.
really rough. But again, like you were saying, 7 seed is not totally out of the question. I think it's possible. But it's gonna have to be a lot of support. And your wide receiver gonna have to stop talking about legends on Twitter. Like, I don't know what he did this week, but he need to
Uh,
put less hair dye in his head.
You're right. Before he ends up balder than Lockett is, you know. Like, come on, life can come at you so fast, you know.
Hey,
Like,
I'm
come
telling
on,
you.
need to be thinking about Lattimore. When Lattimore holds him to one catch for 15 yards, I don't want to hear Metcalf talking because
Better
it
be
can definitely
humble.
happen, right? Because like, come on, Lattimore's playing out of his mind right now. Nobody's talking about it, but I've been watching him closely. Like, he's in a zone. Like, we only talk about Trayvon Diggs, but Marshawn Lattimore is playing out of his mind. So
Hmm.
it's ah, it's
It's gonna be rough, my boy.
gonna
It's
be
gonna
rough.
be rough. But
We, eh,
hey, it's football. It's the nature of the game. It happens to the best of us. So we just gotta hope for the best, man. That's all we can do at the end of the day. Um,
right.
but but I want to thank you, my brother, again for joining us on another episode of the Players Ball Podcast. Before we go, though, please tell the people where they can find you at. You do have a fitness page, so let the people know about everything you got going on right now.
Okay, so we got the fitness page on Instagram. Go ahead and hit up my page. We're at fit.chnGM_. I haven't had a lot of content posted lately, but may update it at the later part of this week. So just stay tuned. Go ahead and follow on that page, and I got you.
For sure, for sure. And be sure to follow my boy on Twitter. We will have it under him right below. And thank you for tuning into the Players Ball Podcast. Again, follow the podcast at the Players Ball One on Twitter. and then at the Players Ball Podcast on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Roddy404. We had a fantastic week 6. Week 7 kicks off on tomorrow. We got the Browns. We got the Broncos. We might have some money for y'all. Stay tuned to the Players Ball Twitter because I've been on fire. I just hit y'all see the Lakers game on. I just hit my Bucks minus 2.5 plus 110. So, hey,
excellent line, man.
I know what I'm talking about. I'm telling y'all. Make sure y'all.
I want to listen to him.
Hey, look, I'm trying to give people free money, man. That's all I'm trying to do.
Right.
But until then, we appreciate y'all for watching. Subscribe, like, repost, share. Tell your mama, tell your daddy, tell everybody that the Players Ball Podcast is here and here to stay. Until next time, we'll see y'all later, man. Peace.